Welcome back to a new video. This was my training from Monday where I did muscle snatch, clean and jerk, back squat, a heavy deadlift, and I think I might have done some sort of bench pressing after, but if I did, it was pretty light and I didn't record it. I ended up going pretty crazy in this workout and did well in just about every lift. I think I only had one miss at like a random 105, and generally things were looking pretty good. Not really sure why I was feeling this good today, but it's one of those things where you don't want to question. Now, one theory or one idea that I've been playing around with is actually from a Sam Solik video talking about when you take your caffeine, taking it on an empty stomach versus taking it after you've eaten some food. And if you eat some food and then take caffeine or your pre-workout or whatever, it takes longer to process that, which logically makes sense if you have stuff in your digestive tract. And for any other sort of substance like alcohol, if you drink that on an empty stomach, it's going to have a much more acute effect than if you've also had food with that. So I had been generally, when I get back from work, just eating a little bit of food, take my pre-workout or caffeine or whatever, and then go and train. And I hadn't really thought of taking it prior to eating, and that was something I experimented really this whole week. So it was something that kind of made logical sense. So basically get home, take whatever pre-workout or caffeine that I was going to take, and then eat whatever food I was going to eat, and basically set up the caffeine to process faster, or at least allow it to metabolize faster before I go into train. And also it has the added benefit of the half-life of it going through my system faster, so then at night it's not still in my system, at least to the same degree as it would be if I waited another 30-40 minutes to take it after I had eaten something. And I will say anecdotally, I did feel the caffeine a little bit more, or at least a little bit better. I think it's hard to really say better or more, but I was definitely like energized during this session, and that was basically the only variable that I changed for this workout, other than sleep the previous night. But because Monday workouts generally go pretty well because of that, because Sundays you kind of sleep a lot, and because of that, usually I kind of have all my stuff together, and then I'm able to get some good sleep for Monday as well. So it kind of feeds into each other. The goal is always to kind of mimic those days throughout the whole week, but that doesn't usually happen too frequently. As you saw there with the snatch, I was able to get up to 120. I was pretty happy with that rep. It was definitely a little bit of a press out, but considering it's a pretty heavy weight for what I have been doing lately, pretty glad to be able to do that, especially on a non-specific heavy day. Obviously, as you'll see, I went heavy on a lot of the lifts today, but it wasn't something that I was planning on doing, or something that I was like, all right, I gotta get 120 today. The goal was really just to work up to something, and it kept feeling good. So obviously just keep adding weight. I was really happy with that 140. Went up to this 150. It wasn't as good, and something that is slowly improving with the jerks is my hand position. So not necessarily having my hands open, they're always kind of open before I start the jerk, but kind of pushing and pressing my palms up into the bar prior, and which allows my front rack to stay a little bit more stable as I start the dip drive, and it's been making my jerks feel a little bit better, especially with because I push everything forward. So like having that tension in a different spot, or at least thinking to have my tension in a different spot, it's allowing my O's to stay in a more stable position and stay more upright through the dip drive, which is one of the reasons I was able to do that 150 when it had smashed me up the next week. You can see my my knee wraps not really working too well. That's the only tricky thing with these new knee wraps from Hook Grip, is that they're a little bit trickier to get the fold in a right spot so it stays in, because they are a little bit tighter, so it's a little bit harder to find that fold that fits under. Once you do get them on and pretty tight, then they do work pretty well. But I didn't go, so I went heavy relative to what I was doing with back squats. So you can see up here, I went up to 175 and I did 4 sets of 3. And the last one I did the set of 3 at 185. And I was really happy with that, and that's kind of the squat session. I did it with front squats the other day, and it's something I want to do, not all the time, but if I can do that like twice a week, and then have a couple other just normal squat sessions where I just do singles or lighter work in general, or just lighter volume in general, I think that'll be really good, because doing these somewhat fast triples, like I'm not trying to rest a lot in between, I think will do me some good. And I think for me it's like the best kind of volume for squats, because if I do really high sets, then ends up being a lot more posterior chain. When I do these kind of faster sets, I really feel them in my quads a lot more than big sets, and it's a lot easier for me to progress, and I think for anyone to progress triples than it is to progress like a big set of 5 in any of the lifts. But for me in the squats, I think it's better to do more triples than it is. Like for instance, it's better for me to do 5 sets of 3 versus 3 sets of 5, because I'm able to maintain positions better and get more of a stimulus to the areas that I want, aka my quads. But yeah, that was squats, and then I just felt good on pulls, so I just went heavy. I really shouldn't have, because it fatigued me for a couple days and made my pulls feel pretty weak for the next really like 2 days. But I mean, I don't know, pulling 290 is kind of fun. And you see there, I was pretty surprised that it wasn't, I just didn't fail it, which was interesting, and it kind of moved how 285 moved the other week. I think it'd be kind of cool to get back up to 300 and have that be kind of the top single that I'm able to do on these days if I want to do a heavy deadlift. And then of course, if I'm going up to 300, it'd be nice to be able to try to chip my lifetime PR of 302, which has been so long ago when I've done that. It's just such a weird, it's always weird to think back of that, just how random that day was, and how I've never been able to do a PR since then in a lift that I'm built really well for. Although I've gotten, so the current best lift ever is 302, and the closest I've gotten to that since that point has been 295, I believe. But I don't know, it's not like a big priority, so I suppose that's one reason it hasn't progressed. But it's also, you know, I'm at a pretty high weight anyway, so it would take probably some more dedicated work than just what I do now, but maybe not, who knows. I guess we'll find out. But that's it for this one. I'll talk to you on the next video, and I hope you all have a great day. Peace.